Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
What's the new hashtag we're using, James? Fantasy BL? Is it Fantasy Bundesliga?
Oh, no. I haven't muted anything yet because I'm all for...
That was like the sentence that comes before the biggest but ever. That was a J-Lo sentence.
Yeah, look, it's been first weekend. Like, I've not been playing Bundesliga fantasy or anything like that. I've got no interest in it personally. The advice is if you're sick of seeing it on your timeline, then just mute Fantasy BL for Bundesliga or hashtag Champman FPL, mute them, and then you won't see it on your timeline.
Very interesting. I think it will raise an interesting topic of conversation and discussion that we'll get into in a little bit around fantasy and how we're going to cope with all the rest of what's ending with football and what have you. But today's show, James, we're going to just touch briefly on Project Restart and what's been happening in and around football, because we have had some announcements since we've last recorded. And then we've got our Twitter questions, as always, a few announcements, because this is probably one of the busiest, biggest, most exciting Planet FPL weeks ever.
I think it is it, believe it or not. It's no football, and it's the biggest week ever in the history of Planet FPL, yes.
And on top of that, then we do have, at the end of the show, for all of our Champ Man playing listeners, which is a lot based on the number of questions that we've had in. We'll have some Champ Man chat as well, based on what's happening this week. So there we go. If you want to find us on Twitter, James is at Planet FPL Pod. I'm at Surgeon Shah. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you go, just search Planet FPL. Take it away, James. What's happened in Scotland?
Well, I was going to say, we'll timestamp there. It's just gone 12 p.m. UK time, and we've just had the breaking news. 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Sorry, I don't even know what time it is.
Daylight saving hasn't kicked in the Linden household just yet.
True story is actually, yes, my clock on my laptop is wrong and I don't know how to change it. But anyway, moving on.
You can live stream. You can put graphics over your fantastic live stream.
But I can't change the clock. Yes, we've had news in the last hour since 12 p.m. that the Scottish Premier League, we have to use this word curtailed now, don't we, Such, has been curtailed. It is off. It is done. Celtic are champions, and Heart Midlothian Hearts have been relegated. There is a possibility for Hearts to appeal, because there is still the possibility that there could be a reformation of that league to extend it to 14 teams, in which case Hearts would obviously stay as part of a reformed Scottish Premier League. But as of now, they're going down.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's wrap up the other...
That can't happen, but it's happening.
Well, and then the same is happening with League Two and League One, right? Wrapping up the season as it is, done and dusted right now.
Well, I think anybody who'd listened to this very podcast last Monday would have known that's come as no shock. As we'd said, that Gary Neville was inside Salford and said 99% League Two and League One will be off, and League One looks like it's going to follow either today or tomorrow. But I think it's more likely tomorrow, although there are 6 clubs that are willing to fight it. League Two, essentially, they haven't announced what they're going to do yet. It looks like the top 3 will get promoted. 4th to 7th will play the playoffs. Whenever, I don't know, in July, August, at some point, probably a neutral venue, maybe just a one-leg semi-final and a final. There's no clarity yet on relegation. The relegation story is a little bit murky because obviously Stevenage Borough are bottom, but Macclesfield Town had recently had a 7-point deduction that leaves them very slightly over Stevenage. There is a belief that Macclesfield might get deducted further points. There's a possibility that only 1 team could get relegated from that division rather than 2, or perhaps none. So the story is far from finished. One really notable story, which is quite a heartwarming story from the weekend. People think football is all completely about greed. Apologies to forget the young lady's name, who I think she's co-chair of Port Vale. Port Vale are 8th in League Two, 1 point off a playoff pace, and had been, I think, 3rd in the form table over the last 5 or 6 games or so. And she voted to void the season, fully knowing that it meant that Port Vale obviously couldn't get promoted, and she knew what she was doing in terms of it was going to hurt her club. She didn't have to, there's going to be backlash from fans. It's turned out quite positively in terms of the reaction. Obviously, you'll get idiots, but it's turned out quite positively. And her major statement was, you know, Port Vale are a part of League Two. Right now, the whole of football is more important than one football club.
Yep.
And I just thought that was really nice when all the headlines are completely about greed and stuff at the moment. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. And I think, you know, that is the epitome of a good-natured gesture. I mean, to be fair, she could have voted to not void the season and it still would have passed through. The one vote's not changed it. But she's not tried to kick up a fuss. She said, look, you know, I agree with this. So not everybody's out there in it for themselves. Whereas you take the case in League One, where I think Peterborough United occupy the final playoff place as it stands. But if they void it and it goes to points per game, the suggestion is, which is how they'll do it, that Wycombe Wanderers would replace Peterborough in the playoffs. And Darren McAnthony, who's the chairman of Peterborough, has already said, like, if that's happening, I'm getting my money out of my pocket, and I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
Sunderland are another ones who they're obviously desperate to get back in the Championship. I think they're third or fourth, Sunderland. They obviously want to appeal if the top two go up, which I think is Coventry and Rotherham as it stands. So there's a little bit more of a fight in League One, and that's where it comes back to money. Because some of the power clubs in that league who have got the finances still are trying to kick up a bit of a fuss. But I think it's going to get voided.
If there was one rule that the FA laid out for all the leagues to follow, I don't think we'd be having any kind of debates and discussions here, because it's come top down and everybody's following the same rules, and that's that. So then there's no kind of grey area in it. I think having things rolled out, different rules for different leagues at the moment, is a real concern. I'm not surprised to see Scottish football end the season curtailed, and the same with League One and League Two. It's weird that they haven't announced how they're going to finish the season off and how they're going to sort everything out. I thought they would have done that by now. And then on the other side, you're looking at the Bundesliga are playing this weekend.
Yeah, I think, like, to finish on the lower leagues, just to sort of go against what you say there a little bit in terms of it would have been ideal to have a structure for, say, all of the EFL. But one of the things I've spoken about, particularly on my Friday streams, is that and we have spoken about it a little bit, is you can't compare status of Leeds United in the Championship and Stevenage Borough in League Two just because they fall under the EFL umbrella. I mean, completely, it's ridiculous to compare the two. So I think you do have to go on a league by league basis. The Scottish Premier League, in terms of size of football club, once you strip away Rangers Celtic, and yeah, I'm going to upset some sort of Aberdeen, Dundee United, Hibs, Hearts fans and all that, it's at League Two level, basically. Some of them you could argue is League One, perhaps Championship level, but actually no. Scottish football's, you know where it's at, right? So once League Two was voided, I think it was always going to go as well.
So are we then taking your argument into consideration that we have different rules for different leagues? Is that because we are making this decision based on financial reasons?
Well, yeah, that to be honest, that's why the League Two has been voided, is so because it's the cost of what it would cost them. People haven't factored this in. The cost of what it would cost them to stage a football match even without a crowd. From the testing perspective, the stewarding, police, ambulance, you will still need all of that in place. So it's going to be a cost to those clubs with no income in. And the other thing, obviously, League Two, League One level is 50% of players run out of contract in 5-6 weeks, which is the major issue. And obviously, the higher you go, the less that is. I mean, in the Premier League, we're talking, I think it's 70 players or so. You know, it's not even 4 per club on average. Whereas we're talking at numbers of sort of like 10 plus per club in like League Two. So that's had a major bearing as well.
It is disappointing. I want this decision to be a health-based decision. It's got to be done based on what's safe for everybody, rather than money. Right? I prefer it if it was that way.
Well,
that doesn't mean
what's safe for everybody is for us all to stop and piss off and come back in 2021.
Exactly.
That's what's safe for everybody.
Because, like, to take other areas of society, we're not making two-tier decisions in other areas of society based on economic reasons. Like, London is a financial powerhouse in the country. It generates a large part of the tax and wealth and everything else, rightly or wrongly. That we have distribution in cities. It's just, that's how it is. We're not releasing different lockdown rules for London because it's more important to the economy than we are Stevenage, which is a small place. I'm only picking on them because they're bottom of League Two, and saying that they need to stay locked in, but we need to open up because we're worth more money than they are and the risk is potentially bigger. We're not doing that. So I don't think we should do that with football. I think it should be the same rules. I was so not bothered about the Bundesliga. I mean, I don't watch any Bundesliga anyway. I don't think in my life I've sat through an entire Bundesliga game. So I couldn't care less anyway. And I'm not going to get involved with Bundesliga FPL, for example. I don't know any of the players. But looking at it, I just felt a little bit, I don't know if numb's the right word. The longer this goes on,
I think it is.
There's a couple of things we've spoken about that you've raised that I really started to resonate more now. Like, I don't care about this. This season's got less and less and less riding on it. Like, what are we coming back for? And I'm almost convinced that if we restart, something bad's going to happen and we'll have to stop again. And so I'm going more towards, I don't think this Premier League season will finish.
On the Bundesliga, because it's another conversation with the Premier League, I think the word you used of numb is absolutely right. I haven't even seen a goal from the weekend. I'm not come across it on my timeline or anything. I know a lot of the guys on my stream on Saturday were like, don't mention the scores. I want to, Sky Plus the game or whatever so I can watch it later. I was like, it's fine. I won't mention it. It's cool. But I couldn't care less. Like, what is it? One of the things I've spoken about is how, and I think once it starts to be a bit different for usage because West Ham's games will matter.
Yeah.
I think once it starts, you'll think, oh, God, we do have to win games of football here. But for me, like, and I think for the majority of others outside that bottom six, who gives even the European places, is there going to be European football this year? With all the will in the world from UEFA, there's so many different issues from country to country. Is there even going to be European football? Liverpool are going to be champions, no matter what happens. 100% Liverpool are going to be champions. I don't have to. Is anybody still walking around with that fear or anything? They've basically said Liverpool will get the title if the season is voided and that. So there's nothing to other than for the bottom six, right? And then, like I've said, if the relegation then gets taken away, then what are we putting people at risk for? Really, is it maybe then that's when I think it is about money. That's when it's about the sponsorship. That's when it's about the TV money. And I think one of the reasons we haven't got a defined conclusion to the divisions below the Premier League at the moment in terms of relegation is that's going to wait on the Premier League, isn't it? So if no one gets relegated from the Premier League, probably no one's getting relegated from the Championship Leagues 1 and 2 as well. And that's probably why you haven't got a definitive, that's what's happening to, say, Stevenage and Macclesfield in League 2. Although then that's another story because the National League isn't voided yet. I assume it has to be, but it isn't as yet. So
it's mad. Do you know, last night I was pottering around doing a few bits and pieces and I wanted to listen to a podcast. So I thought I'd whack up the old podcast app. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't been listening to a lot of content recently. And our friend Adam Pritchard at 35 Who, our Arsenal correspondent, was a guest on Who Got the Assist a little while back, if you remember.
That's right, yeah.
And I hadn't listened to that episode yet. And, love a little cheese pun. So I whacked it on and I thought, let me just have a little listen. This was back in March. And you've got the guys on there. Obviously, what we knew in March and what we know now, which is 2 months later, chalk and cheese, where Tom was talking about the Premier League had given us an April the 30th date for a potential restart. I just looked at my watch and I was like, how far we've come in that time scale to think about what we can and can't. But it's funny, some of the underlying sentiments back then as well were very similar. Like, who cares right now? Let's just get everybody safe and well. And I really just want the decision to be about that and not about finances. But I understand the hardship in it. the longer it goes on, the less I care and the less I can see this season finishing.
Here's what I think is going to happen. And the guys who've listened to us weekly will know I've kept saying this week. Well, there's an important date next Monday on the 25th, which is UEFA's deadline for the Premier League to clarify what they're doing. Now, they don't have to say we're definitely restarting on day X, but they do have to say if they're voiding or if there is an intention to finish, so they can announce to UEFA if they're voiding which teams they'll be putting forward for a potential European competition or two next season. So this week really, and it doesn't surprise me that Germany have restarted playing football and have got themselves organised. I don't know if there's anything in that goes back to the fact that a lot of those clubs are fan-owned, the fact that they've got themselves best organised, I don't know. And the fact that we're the last, basically. It's basically us, Italy and Spain, isn't it? Still the ones with the biggest money at stake, shall we say, that are still fighting over what are we going to do. Now, Spain and Italy look like they're going to try, although there's major opposition to it. I'd recommend anyone goes and read what the Udinese owner said in the week about Italian football restarting. I think what we'll find out is a Premier League meeting today. I think what we'll next find out is that players are going to go back to training. Not in contact, but they're going to go into training. Many will have seen the comments from Raheem Sterling at the weekend saying, look, we need 4 to 6 weeks at a minimum. Unlike normal pre-season, what you've got to remember here is they're not going to play any friendlies, nothing. They're going to go back and play Premier League football straight away. The players want 6 weeks. 6 weeks from now is July. The most hopeful restart date was June the 12th. That's going to get binned. I think June 19th will get binned before the weekend comes round. And I think they'll be aiming for June 26th for a restart. There is a lot that can still happen in between.
The thing with Germany to remember is their death rate is a third of what it is in Spain, Italy and UK as well.
Of course. Which
lends itself towards a reopening and definitely does help a little bit. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks now. And we'll obviously be producing content as and when we get some news.
As and when. We'll just keep producing, mate.
Every day there'll be something to chat about. Which segues on a little bit. So let's talk about, very quickly, we'll wrap up for everybody what we've got coming this week for you, being that today's Monday the 18th. So if you're listening on another day, you know what we're talking about. And then we'll get into our Twitter questions, James. We've got like 3 that are non-Champman FPL related, and we'll do a nice little session on Champman FPL and chip strategy and what have you. So today being Monday, tomorrow is the People's Poll, James. A very interesting topic that won the vote for the People's Poll.
Well, I'm not going to lie. It was meant to win, and it did win by a landslide. Nothing else was meant to win the vote. Yeah, we are going to be talking about us doing Patreon, which is happening. Suj, you go.
Well, look, yeah, there's a lot to talk about in terms of Planet FPL as a proposition and what we want to offer and where we're going to take it. And if you're a fan of the show and you have been for the last 3 years, trust me, you're going to like what we've got. In my opinion, you're going to like what we've got to offer and what's going to be coming out as well, because the goal is to give value. I think we live in a meritocracy now where if your content's good enough, it's good enough. And if it's not, you die on your ass, really. So going to be a very interesting conversation that we have about that for tomorrow. On Wednesday, James.
Got a quiz. We haven't spoke about what we're doing yet.
No, it's going to be an interesting one, though. I reckon
is it?
So.
You don't know what we're doing yet?
It always is, though, James.
Should I drop the idea?
You haven't let me down yet. Go on.
Should I drop the idea?
Yeah, mate.
Well, following last week, which seemed really popular, the idea of A to Z, I was thinking, why don't we do the questions A to Z and then the answers 1 to 26?
So squad numbers or shirt numbers or number of goals or
there's loads of ways around that.
Yeah, go for it. I think I'll bomb out miserably, but I don't know. To be honest with you.
That's what we're doing. Thanks to Ed Cannon for a great suggestion on that. And I am going to use it. I just didn't want to use it back to back. On Thursday, I was thinking United treble winners, but with a little bit of a twist.
What's the twist?
Well, what I went through on that final day as a Spurs fan when Les Ferdinand put Spurs in front at Old Trafford.
Yeah, we can talk about the treble-winning Manchester United side. I mean, it's a very, very good side for so many reasons. Ruthless, efficient, yet quality as well. It was a combination of work, class, everything. So yeah, well up for that.
All right, that's the content.
Indeed.
Oh, and I'm doing Champ Man Wednesday and Thursday night this week, as well as in the middle of a 24-hour stream on Saturday.
Yes, and then Saturdays is the big one, where James and I are producing, publishing, releasing, broadcasting Planet FPL 24, which is our 24-hour live stream as a charity event. We're trying to raise money for the heroes that are helping in the NHS, again, for everybody that's suffered with coronavirus and the difficult times that we have. I mean, looking at the UK, by the time we get to the weekend, James, there'll be over 250,000 coronavirus cases in the country.
I thought you were going to say by the time we get to Saturday, we'll be back at a second spike.
No, I mean, everybody knows the great work that's been going on with that. So we want to try and raise as much money as we can, starting at 6 a.m. on Saturday, all the way through till 6 a.m. on Sunday. Keep an eye on James's Twitter feed at Planet FPL Pod for the release of various bits of the schedule, which will all be released in full as well. So you can plan your day around us. And the beautiful thing is that Monday next week, James, is a bank holiday. So if you do the full 24 hours with us, you can sleep it off on the Sunday, and then you still got a day to spend with the family at home on the Monday, because it's not like you're going to be home Tuesday to Friday anyway.
Yeah, family. I'm going to be doing more than sleeping it off on the Sunday, I think.
Could you imagine if the Premier League and the FA didn't get their submission into UEFA next week because someone didn't bother to go to work because it was a bank holiday and thought, sod it, we'll let them know tomorrow?
Don't rule that out. I mean, on the laughable sense in terms of the bank holiday, yeah, when I say don't rule that out, what I mean is the main thing that makes me think, difficult to forget the virus at the moment, but right now, 14 of 20 clubs need to make an agreement for us to get to a restart of Premier League football. It is so complex with the Premier League in terms of, broadcasting, how games are going to be played, the arrangements, so many things. That's why I think it's quite stunning that Germany have managed to organise themselves so well, actually. Are we going to get that resolution and agreement in the next 4 to 5 days? I'm not convinced. And I really think that we could be sitting here this time next week waiting for the voided announcement. But I think they're going to find a way to try. And I think it can still go very wrong from there.
Let's get through some of these Twitter questions, James, shall we? Because people have gone to the effort of sending them in.
Start with the non-Champ Man ones, because the majority of them are Champ Man.
Yep, but there are a handful that are not, and a few more that have just snuck in the last few minutes. FPL Thomas at FPL_Thomas8. Trying to start a fight here, James.
Is he?
He's trying to start a fight, yeah. What's your worst habit each, and what do you think each other's worst habits are?
God. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
I've got a few bad habits. I do bite my nails, but I don't think that's necessarily my worst habit. The worst thing, I find it very difficult to say no.
Okay.
Which means
when Planet FPL Live 4 comes around in 18 months, just remember that, guys.
It's just like I'm always doing too many things. I know it, but I can't help myself. It's like if an opportunity comes up to do something, whether it's work related, content related, I can't help myself. I like variety, but it always means that definitely, without a doubt, I have too many things going on. And the issue with that is obviously sometimes you can drop the ball on this, that, and the other. So my worst habit is not being able to say no to stuff, so that I'm managing myself. Because otherwise I'm running around constantly.
So yeah, about that pay rise, Suj.
No.
Suj's worst habit, as far as I'm concerned, and it's really bad when we do the quiz, is if he's got a pen in his hand. My God. click, 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 click,
Do I?
click, click. Always. Yeah.
Do I?
Yeah.
See, here's the interesting
Thank
thing.
you, love.
I would never have noticed that about myself.
Well, I
So
do,
you,
because I'm editing the audio. I don't notice it in the video. It's when I'm listening it back and all I can hear is click, 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 click. I'm like, oh, bloody hell, Sid, you're going to have to mute that, and I
well, now you told me, I'll stop doing it.
watch him do it again on Wednesday. If you do it again on Wednesday, I'm just going to leave it in.
I'm holding a pen right by the mic just to click it. Yeah. What's your worst habit, James?
Oh, anything blokish, farting, sneezing, biting me nail, burping. Yeah, all of them things that, you know, a man should be proud of. Worst habit on the podcast. I touch my face a lot. I've noticed that watching some of the streams back. I'm always like, no.
It makes it look like you're thinking.
Yeah, which is always dangerous if I have time to do that. So yeah, I try and stick with my hands in my pockets now, but it doesn't last long. I have to touch my face because no one else will.
Oh dear, we've got Sham, FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup. Sham, I hope you're well. Thank you for sending your question in. With the live 24-hour stream just a few days away, what bit are you looking forward to the most? And have you already formulated a plan to recover on Sunday, i.e. told the wife and kids to stay in the garden all day so you can get some peaceful sleep? What are you looking forward to most, James?
At the end. No, I haven't given any thought to what comes afterwards on Sunday or Monday. You've got to get through Saturday before you can think about Sunday, Monday. I think it will be bed for a few hours. It'll probably be, I think, rather than sleep till 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something, it'll be right. Get me 2-3 hours. Get up. Get me another 2-3 hours or something to try and get my body back on clock as quickly as possible. Is probably the best way to do it. Rather than, because if I come home and sleep till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll be up till 4
for the next day.
Well, no, I'll be up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning again. So. And then it's repeat, and then you're just cutting to get back into it. What am I looking forward to most? Oh, that's really difficult to pin one thing when you've got 22 guests coming on. I'm really looking forward to some of the games that we're going to be playing in the middle of the night, because I just think we're going to make
fun.
I think we're going to make some car crash television that you and I are going to wake up on Sunday and seriously regret.
I'll be honest with you. I did tell the missus that I'll be home. See, she said, I'll drop you off on the Saturday and you can get a cab back home on the Sunday morning, because she knew we were obviously going to be drinking through the night. And I said, yeah, I'd probably want to get to the studio about 4:30, 5 on Saturday morning. She goes, you get a cab there and you can get a cab back straight away. And I'll try and sleep it. I mean, they know, that I'll be sleeping it off on Sunday a little bit. I'm most looking forward to Champman FPL, I think, in the middle of the day. I think I was watching a couple of Sky Sports clips where they've done the best moments from Soccer Saturday, where they like Cammy missing the goal or all that kind of stupidity. And I just think, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a nice, interesting dynamic with the two of us there and seeing, and obviously there's quite a few games. There's a few double game week games. I don't know what the spacing of the games is going to be like and stuff. So it will be fun. I'm looking forward to Champman. Depending on how game week 15 goes, I'm looking forward to Champman, because that could go one or two ways.
Planet FPL Derby as well, sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, Champman is West Ham are garbage, so it is what it is.
I think
I'll have 2 Spurs players and no West Ham players. So what do you think I'm going to hope happens?
I think a challenge for me in August will be to put together a Champman video package of the best bits. Would be hilarious. I'll do that. I'll do that in August.
The only way you can do that is if you start writing down now when good things happen. So that otherwise, so you start keeping a diary of, that was funny when that happened.
Probably. We'll skip out the first couple of weeks where there was no graphics.
Jimmy Mac and Cheese at Claret FPL. You can only listen to 3 bands or singers for the rest of your life. Who would they be?
Oh my goodness. Prodigy.
Bob Marley's definitely.
I'm not like you. I'm not like you. I was kind of rocky and dancey in the late 90s and early noughties.
I'm a mixture. I'd say AC/DC. I can listen to them anytime. I'd take Bob Marley without a doubt, and then I'd take a rapper. I'm not sure who. Probably It'd be Jay-Z, Eminem, or Drake. One of the three. It'd probably be
Pick
Drake.
one.
I'm going to sneeze, James. You pick one.
Drake. He managed to sneeze silently. How did you do that?
Oh, you might not have heard it. I'll take Drake. Sheer volume of records means that you wouldn't get bored with variety if you went with Drake. So
I would take Prodigy, Radiohead, and I'll take Linkin Park with me.
Linkin Park, decent groups as well.
A bit of variety in all three. That's it. Sorry.
I'm just looking down the questions here. It's all Champman.
I mean, if I could take different people with me, I might pick some vocalists instead if they're physically coming with me.
Yeah.
Most of them would be female. Have you found any other questions, Suj?
I have found a couple here, James.
Go on then.
FPL Guna, if Project Restart does go ahead and is successful, what do you think should happen to the Europa League and UEFA Champions League considering the cross-country travel?
Bin it. Spurs won't be in it.
Yeah, I think bin it too as well. I think bin it, and even consider binning it next season. If it's not necessary, I think bin it as well.
I think the best thing to do with Europe next season, if they really, really wanted to make it happen and keep a format that's similar to what it is now, is do it like a World Cup tournament next May. Something like that. So, one game in a group, one leg ties, put it all in one country or something and get on with it. The only issue I think you'll find with that, if fans can go, the number of fans that would go would be monstrous. I think it would be more than what would go to an international tournament. Mm-hmm. I think it would be huge. You might even be best off saying, do you know what? Play it in America or China or something like that.
It's interesting because we've spoken about this on previous shows where if you look at a lot of the travelling support for England international matches, it's lower league club fans who maybe don't get to see some of the superstars week in, week out, whereas the Premier League team fans don't necessarily follow the international team all around the world, but they will follow their club side. Like you'd be there in a flash with Tottenham. So
wherever it was. Exactly. I don't know if I go to China on the premise that I might be there for a month or something. But if it was in like mainland Europe, yeah, I'm going, and I'm not booking a return ticket.
Gavin Doyle, this is a very quick, easy one for us to answer, James. Will you be covering the first weekend back of Fantasy Bundesliga? Well, it's happened already, and we didn't, so no.
Do you know what? We could have gone down this route. I said it last week or the week before that if we did cover off the Bundesliga, we'd be doing you a massive disservice. I've not watched enough of it. I used to watch a lot of overseas football before we started the podcast. I don't have time for it now. And I had no appetite, I think Suj feels the same, to want to watch any of that over the weekend. Even if there'd been no champ man or anything like that, I wouldn't have bothered. I'd rather spend that time with my boy. So no appetite for it, I'm afraid. So I would have been just bullshitting. We could do that now. We could say, yeah, we'll do 15 minutes on the Bundesliga next week. We would just be blagging it. Admittedly, most of the things that we've done for nearly the last 4 years have been a blag, but I felt this one might have been one blag too many.
And then we just got one final question, James, and we can get into a bit of Champ Man FPL for 20 minutes or so. Steve Smith, at Steve Hockey on Twitter. During lockdown, I've been making a pub shed in the garden. What are the essentials for the inside other than alcohol and somewhere to sit? The first thing that came to my mind was a padlock, so you keep the missus out. But then I realised he said it on the inside, not the outside. So I reckon he's got the security sorted.
Well, he wants the padlock on the inside. He don't want it on the outside because she might lock him in there forever.
Oh, well, true. That's also true. That could be worse.
You got to have a TV, ain't you?
TV is definitely a good one. I was thinking darts board, maybe.
Wi-Fi.
You might.
I mean, you're going to need it. You might want a games console.
Do you know what, James? I think the thing that goes really well with alcohol would be a nice snack, one with a nice crunch to it, something like a nut to shout out to
they're not even paying us.
no, but they're giving away a prize. They're giving away some stuff on the 24-hour live stream. So I'll let them have it for free. Buy some beer nuts to go in your pub. Stefan, that one was for you. Shout out to that beer nuts.
I'll let you into a little secret, Suge, and most of the listeners will know this. Me and Spice, we don't get on, right?
Yes.
I had these jalapeno nuts.
Oh, yes.
Right, so I'm thinking, I can eat chili McCoys and that. I don't mind it, no problem. So I have these jalapeno nuts, and the wife is like, "What are you doing?" I'm going, "Do you know what? It's all right. They're fine, you know." So I ate them all, no probs. Then about a minute later, after I'd finished,
James the fire-breathing dragon is born.
I was in trouble, mate.
Oh, James the fire-breathing dragon was born. Fantastic. So get some nuts in from Stefan, and if you, they are helping us out on the live stream. Stefan's one of our early guests, and we'll be giving away some beer and nuts. So if you donate money to charity,
they will.
Well, so now we've got a bit of Champman questions to get to. So maybe, James, you want to wrap up for the regular listeners. You've had 35 minutes of our dulcet tones.
Yeah, if you've got no interest in Champman FPL, thank you very much for tuning in. Stay safe and all that. Do join the Patreon podcast tomorrow. We're going to explain what we're doing. Love it or hate it, we're going to do it. Wednesday, quiz. Thursday, throwback. Friday, Ask James stream. Saturday, 24-hour stream.
So, with the Champman questions, I've had a look, and I think what the best thing to do, James, is read them all out in one go.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of overlap between them, and it ends up leading into literally what's your chip strategy and why, and should you use single game week players.
Cool.
So our friend Rob Pick, Scout, he says, I think it's probably covered. How many single game week players is the most you would consider in a double game week on Reaver, on so on and so on? And are there any Chelsea players you wouldn't pick based on them playing Monday, Wednesday, which is obviously quite tight turnaround? And I know in this game, because I've been, getting a little bit more into it, Chelsea is quite rotation prone in the game, right? Is my cat playing? Our Manchester United correspondent, Gary. How are you, Gary? Given how hard it is to spend 100 million on Champman free hit this week, is there an argument to keep Henry and Van Nistelrooy single game week players for clarification based on their form and fixtures? So there we go with that. Scout, again, optimal formation for the free hit based on the fixtures. A lot of people pulling their free hit card out. Our friend Clean Sheet Wipeout, following the news on the stream about the double game week, which was last night, which is that there are six extra games, so 12 teams that have a double game week this week.
11 teams. Derby County don't have a double.
Okay.
Because their fixture with Leeds, which would have been the weekend fixture, is off.
Right. Okay, Leeds have a blank. I understand.
Correct.
Yeah. Following the news, one key player he's asking for in goal, defence, midfield, and attack that you recommend targeting. Our friend Pep Talk, what do you think the threshold is for not using the free hit and wild card and so on this game week? And how many double game week players do you feel comfortable having so that you don't have to use one of the chips? Pirlo's pen, how many single game weeks players are you going to have? You get the gist of this now, James. Everyone wants to know what's the chip strategy, who are the players to target, and how do we maneuver the next 3 game weeks, 15, 16, and 17.
I think the chip strategy is very dependent on where you're at, right? This isn't like, and I've said this before, sometimes we attack certain things. I think FPL strategy this year, as in real FPL, would have been quite straightforward in terms of how that works. I think this you can attack in so many different ways. And you've got to bear in mind the case of the differential, because you've got sort of 1,200 active players, and many of them are going to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you have to make a choice from a week-to-week basis. Do you want to go with the herd, or do you want to go against it? Now, whether you sit in the camp of go with or go against this week is completely up to you. I suspect from a poll that I put out earlier, and it's going to stay open till tomorrow, I think, so you can have a look at it. It looks like there's going to be a large number of free hits, which is also my strategy. But I think what might be best thing to do, Such, is look at kind of cases of where you're at and what you do. So, I mean, where are you at with your team at the moment, Such?
So I put a tweet out this morning. I'm not sure if you saw it. You probably do see most of my tweets.
I put you on notifications because you only tweet once a week.
Yeah. Once a week is enough, mate. You know how you said that you would be, if we talked about fancy Bundesliga, we'd be doing people a disservice because we don't have enough information.
So you should leave this podcast now.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't tweet about this because I'll be doing people a disservice. I like it when people tweet at me and give me grief about if I have a bad result for whatever reason. I'm like, in what world do I actually care? Because I'm playing a computer game about a computer game. But that's a separate conversation. For Sunday or Saturday or whenever, I have 2 goalkeepers, Serrani and Seaman, both single game week players. Laurent Blanc, John Honorisa, who's going to get sold for Hariderson.
Yeah, injured for a month. Yeah.
Melberg, Ian Hart, who's going to get sold. Prior to this game week, he would have got sold for Dean Gordon. That's now not going to happen. And I've got Ashley Cole, single game week. I've got Steven Gerrard, Solano, who is getting sold for Selakovic.
God, you're in trouble, aren't you?
Nah. Scowcroft, Alan Johnston, Jason Wilcox, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Jason Ewell, Teddy Sheringham.
Okay. So how many doubles do you have? Start with that.
6, and I'll end up with 8 because Solano will go to Selakovic and Risa will go to Hariderson. And I'm open to making one more change.
I'm going to guess them from there. No chip at all. Is that fair or?
So if I get to 8 and I play my bench boost, I have 23 matches, right? If you free hit and you pick 11 double game week players, you'll have 22 matches. And I don't think everybody's going to pick 11 double game week players because going without United in this game doesn't seem sensible or logical.
I think the fear for me this week is not United, it's Arsenal. It's the fear.
Yeah, quite possibly. On top of that, then you look a bit further down the line, right? We've got the double game week in game week 17, where we've got Liverpool and Manchester United and Middlesbrough have got a double game week, right?
In game week 17, yes. Liverpool and Tottenham in 17 is off, but obviously Liverpool and Fulham double in game week 16.
Liverpool, okay. Yes, correct.
The Liverpool-Tottenham double in 17 is now off, confirmed. It's not happening.
That would have made my life quite a bit better because I would have had way more double game week players.
Well, I'm already on 3 Liverpool, so yeah, I would have loved the double if you want. But I think the only thing with that is there might be some now who have got no Liverpool, say those who are bench boosting this week, for example, who then think just because it's 1 double, I might skip it. So they might. Whereas I think if it was doubles, people would have gone -8 to get 3 in if necessary. So it might actually be a small advantage in the fact that they haven't got the second double. I had game week 17 in the back of my mind if it went ahead as a bench boost for myself potentially because I was already well loaded with Liverpool, United, Middlesbrough. I won't be doing that now.
So I'm almost choosing between. I don't see any value in using my free hit necessarily because I'll get 19 fixtures. 19 games anyway, and I'm going to 22. And I also don't see the value in using my bench boost because I haven't had time to properly prepare my bench for a week where I've got loads of doubles. I also don't need to use any chips in 17 necessarily because there isn't enough games in 16 and 17 to justify using a chip. But looking further down the line, we're obviously all completely off our Leeds assets. Come game week 19, I really want to power back into triple Leeds because they've got a good run leading into doubles in 23 and 24. That game week 22 blank looks like a good free hit opportunity for me, potentially. I'm almost using my bench boost or my free hit and probably my bench boost in 15 if I decide to use it because I don't think there'll be a better time to use it rather than this is the best time to use it. Does that make sense?
It does. Just to cover briefly on game week 22, there are only 8 teams playing now, 4 fixtures. And that's the way it's going to stay. But the teams playing, i.e. Arsenal, Liverpool, Fulham, Newcastle, Man United, Ipswich, Leeds, West Ham, is all right. You can scrap West Ham out of that because
we're just say it was shit.
And you could even say, oh, Ipswich are away to Man United, but actually most people are going to have sight of Ipswich, and 1 or 2 points will be better than other people's nuns, right? I mean, Sereni could well hit a 4-pointer on save bonus, for example. Hariderson could pick up, like, they might concede 2 or 3. He gets a 1-pointer and 2-point bonus, and he's got 3 points quite easily. So no, I would be avoiding free hit 22 on the doubles, by the way, on 23, which sees doubles now for Leeds and Derby, isn't it? And also Arsenal Newcastle is going to be added to that as well. That's when that's been scheduled. Those games could still be off if any of those clubs have an FA Cup third round replay. The one benefit of that is you will know prior to game week 22, which is when I think a lot of people will hammer back into Leeds. Personally, I would have ringed game week 20. I wouldn't be so bothered about the Southampton away game. It depends on game week 19. It depends how it falls for me. What's interesting is I'm still going to free hit Serge, but because it worked out, and obviously I was playing towards free hitting because a lot of the sides I didn't want on the other side because of their fixture runs, such as Leicester, for example, Chelsea. I didn't really want their assets coming back on the other side. But the fact that all 11 teams, now have a double actually means that right now I'm already sitting on 7 players who will have a double game week. Plus, I've got the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy, Silvestre. I could put out a decent side. The problem is, I think, is what I've been left with double-wise from those particular teams is shite. So I want to give you a good example why I think. So for me, I'd be looking at 7 times 2, 14 fixtures. I could get 18 fixtures right now. That's without making a transfer. So actually, I can get up to 19, whereas I'm going to free hit into 22. Is that worth it? For me, I think it very much still is, and it's because I'm left with. So Mark Crossley would be my goalkeeper if I went down that route, which is it's fine. It's bearable. I've got Johnston as well. Middlesbrough have probably the best double. Ipswich at home, Bolton away, so that's fine. Rufus and Jensen, no. Liverpool at home, Derby away. Am I expecting anything? No, not really. I've got Poyet. It's not the Spurs asset that you'd want for this. No. Phillips is okay. And I've got one other who I can't even remember who that is. Who's the other one I've got, Suj?
Who? The other Spurs asset or the other?
The other doubler. Oh, is that it? 2 Middlesbrough, 2 Charlton, Poyet, Phillips. Oh, Alan Stubbs of Everton is the other one. Okay. Those would be my 7 doublers. Were I to buy an 8th, I'd probably get something in defensively to add to that, if I'm very honest, because I don't really want to muck about with the front line I've got at the moment. Bearing in mind, I've got Van Nistelrooy, Fowler for double game week 16 ready and set. But I'm not happy with any of them doublers, Suj. So I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to do it and be aggressive with this.
How many, a couple of questions that you can help me here with. What's the opportunity later in the season for bench boost and free hit? Will there be doubles and blanks? Because we've talked about this being chip season right now. Or is it a case of if you don't use them now, later on you might not?
My opinion is that to not use a chip to the advantage this week would be a waste. Unless you've landed in a great position. It might be that, for example, Dean Gordon's injury is going to tip people to say, no, I need to do it. Genuinely could be that kind of tipping point. In terms of doubles, that this will be, in my opinion, the best week to free hit and the best week to bench boost. It just depends what path you're on, personally. Yeah. I would be using triple captain either on sort of Fowler in game week 16 or possibly I might use it on Van Nistelrooy in game week 17, for example. We can't predict in terms of what will be best doubles to come. I mean, we've already got fixtures lined up for game week 23 that could yet be postponed, for example. So there's only a certain amount of planning you can do from that perspective. There isn't going to be another double game week that has more than, say, 6 teams. It's not going to happen. But you could use that second wild card to put yourself in a position, if that happens, which will probably be about February time, where you could wild card straight into that then bench boost. And that's sort of my thinking at the moment, or at least if it's, say, only 4 teams and I can only get to 12, I could then wildcard before it to then maximise 3 other players who've got a great single, for example. That makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does.
So I'm still free hitting this week because I think I need to be aggressive here. And I think the way that I've managed in terms of my strategizing, I'll always be in a position where it's not too bad. And actually the chaos of that Middlesbrough Man United game getting called off, I can't ever see myself putting myself in a position that's going to be that bad again, should that throw up. Like going forward, any circumstance like that where a Champions League game could hit a Premier League game, I'm telling you, I'm going to be studying it and it's not going to happen to me again. So I'm going to be aware of those sort of things. I think an aggressive play needs to be made this game week, whether that's a bench boost or a free hit. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either way yet here at the moment on what I'll be doing, James. I'm just not convinced. I know I'll be getting rid of Solano and I'll be getting rid of Ian Hart and I'll be getting Selakovic and probably I'm not sure on the second one. I would have liked to get Herman Riderson for a longer term strategy, but he hasn't got a double, so I'm not buying him this week. Reece is out for a little while, so I may just sideways move to another Liverpool player. I've got kids.
Oh, the kids are in. I've picked my free hit team, and I know what it is, and it's not changing. And I'm not telling you now what it is either.
I've lost my headphones, James. I've lost my headphones.
What a star you are! I know my free hit team, and I'm not changing it. What I'll do, Suj, while you're trying to sort out your kids, bloody
you can go to your room and watch your
Welcome
English
to
class.
FPL podcasting in 2000.
Yeah, it's remote learning, so I've sent him off with the iPad to have his English class, and the other one.
He's just cutting me off.
So, with your free hit, you are telling us.
I was cracking on, mate. I don't know what you were doing. What I was going to say is quickly, rather than say up my free hit team, I think it's just worthwhile, just very briefly, just covering the 11 teams in 20 seconds or so, just to say sort of do's and don'ts on them.
But also we'll have to cover the single game week teams because that was the other half of my question. One was, will there be later on in the season any opportunities? We don't know. And if there are, what about the single game week this week? Because I've got the likes of Van Nistelrooy, Laurent Blanc, David Seaman, Ashley Cole.
I don't even mind if anyone captains Henry or Van Nistelrooy this week. They will both score. I'm telling you now, they will both score. I'm going to go without. I'm going to go with 11 players that have a double, but I think it's absolutely fine. I'm terrified of what Henry's going to do to Spurs, and I'm pretty sure that Van Nistelrooy will score at Newcastle as well. So they could both go ape. I'm hoping that they probably get one each, end up with an 8-pointer, and I captain someone who outscores it. I think essentially for me, the 3 forwards I'm going to go with, I need them all to score 100%. And if you're picking forwards in a double game week, it's kind of the minimum requirement you want anyway. But I'm going to need all 3 of them to score. That's almost for certain. I'm going to go without, but genuinely, I really, really don't mind it. I think for people like with, say, David Seaman, for example, I really think like in that sort of case, you should have a double game week goalkeeper. I think the same for the defensive ones, really. It's just one goal and you're probably on a 2-pointer. But I think for Van Nistelrooy, Omri, Veron, if you've got them power players, those particular 3, I think it's absolutely fine to keep them. And obviously, if you've got the balance of, say, a Beckham, a Giggs or something like that, again, it's fine. I wouldn't say to anybody, like I probably would in FPL, go and get the double game week player. It's absolutely fine. If you've got 8 doublers and you've got Sylvester, Veron and Van Nistelrooy, go for it. I don't have an issue with that. I've decided not to go down that route personally, but I think it's cool.
It's interesting, right? The players that I've got that are not doubling, David Seaman and Ashley Cole, Laurent Blanc and Ruud van Nistelrooy, Steven Gerrard. They'd be a decent five-a-side team if we put one together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
how am I going to bench if I don't bench boost? How am I going to bench some of those guys? I can't.
Oh no, I think if you're hanging on to those United, like if Van Nistelrooy is in your squad, good luck to you if you leave him on the bench. And some people,
I can't.
I'm sure some people will. That you can't if you keep hold of him. I think you've got to play him. If I was holding on, I don't think I would captain him. I genuinely think it's viable to captain Van Nistelrooy or Henry. I don't hate anybody who does that. I think it's fine. I think Henry particularly. I think Henry will either get a 2-pointer or he'll get 2 or 3 goals. I mean, I think he could go mental. That Spurs team is there to be absolutely hammered. Richard Johnson is a sitting midfielder. He's away on international duty, which means Salakovic is going to play there. They're going to destroy Spurs. I am getting my excuses in early.
I'm just looking at my team, James, and I'm just thinking, do you know what? I might go into this with no chip and with only 7 double game week players.
Do you know what? You ain't been doing much anyway. It might be all right.
Well, I don't see myself being able to drop Seaman or Cole or Blanc or Van Nistelrooy.
Then don't.
And then the other 7 are all double game week players.
Then don't.
Then I'm benching Steven Gerrard, and then John Honorisa and Ian Hart, who I need to sell anyway.
It's all right.
Yeah. It's a funny one, this one. I think I like it. I like it because it's definitely not going to be template this week.
It's definitely not going to be template. Well, it's not going to be the template that it's been this week, shall we say. No, I think there's still going to be a template. I think there are certain players whose ownership is going to be absolutely monstrous. I think, for example, James Scowcroft, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I know Luke from Scout said on the stream last night he thinks Festa 90% or so. These guys are going to have huge ownership. So what you will have with free hitters is a very template free hit team, I think. I'm trying to target players that can really pick up the bonus. And I think, again, as Luke and Dave really pointed out well on their stream last night, was for those who've got the doubles, there aren't going to be many clean sheets. But it doesn't mean that a double game week player can't pick up 2 4s. No. You know, concede a goal and get 2 or 3 bonus points. We've seen players even this weekend gone pick up man of match awards who've been on the losing side, right? So I'm really targeting the bonus point hoggers massively. So just to take you through the teams who've got doubles in terms of where my thinking's at, and you can probably half guess my free hit team from there. Villa, I would only look at defensively. I think with Van Gel's away for one of the games, I wouldn't have enough faith in Balaban or Dublin to play twice. Midfield's a mess. And I think with Staunton's place at risk now, I would be looking, Mellberg, Barry, Schmeichel. That's the only way I'd look at it. Blackburn could, in theory, change to a 4-4-2 away to Southampton, but they didn't at Charlton. So it makes you think they won't. It makes me potentially want a Southampton defender as a possible clean sheet, considering how Blackburn play away from home. So it's Southampton away, Leicester at home. With the way Leicester are scoring, I don't see any clean sheets there. And the fact that we're playing 2 different systems in 2 different games, I don't know where to go with Blackburn. So Blackburn are just a complete avoid for me. I think even like with Alan Kelly, Brad Friedel could be back in at any point. Bolton, I'd completely avoid. And the reason for that is obviously they play Chelsea in the game on the Monday night, then Middlesbrough on the Wednesday. So not only have they got a really tough away game and really tough home game, they've obviously got a very, very quick turnaround. The only player I would consider is Pedersen. I wouldn't trust, even though say like Colin Hendry or the wing backs like Southall, Maddison, Charlton, wouldn't trust them to pull up anything. Ricardo Gardner's he's meant to still be out for a couple of months, but he's actually at 90% fitness. Yeah. So he could walk back in that team at any point, and it might change the way they play in terms of personnel. It won't change system. And also, you don't need to scrimp and save, so you don't need to go for a Ricketts or a Wallace here rather than a Pedersen if you're going to go Bolton. I would just go Pedersen. For free hitters, they're going to be able to afford essentially almost whoever they want.
Yep.
Charlton, I think, is a void as well. Liverpool at home, Derby away. I think they're good ones to put on your bench. Like Jensen, 4.5 million, will be in so many teams, whether he's on the bench or in people's starting lineups. They're fine. Jensen, Rufus, Kylie, they're all okay. Everton, Villa at home, Tottenham away. It's not great.
You skip Chelsea.
Skip Chelsea. Well, I'll just do Everton first. Everton, I would only focus on the defenders, probably Stubbs, Weir, and hope you got something from that Villa home game. Very unlikely to get something from Tottenham away. Chelsea obviously also have that 2-game turnaround, which is annoying. So they play Bolton at home on the Monday and then Sunderland away on the Wednesday. I know that Carlo Cudicini will be my goalkeeper. I can say that now because he's the only one I trust the way they rotate to play twice. And I will probably go with Hasselbank. And if I do, I might captain him in the hope that he does enough in the Bolton fixture. And then anything in the Sunderland game would then be a bonus.
Yep.
Leicester, all about the midfielders. So is it Scowcroft, Wise? Obviously, you can go Dean Sturridge up front. I think any of the defence is okay. But again, if you're free hitting, go Matt Elliott. Don't cut the corners. Go with a guy who's definitely going to play and a potential bonus magnet. Middlesbrough, I think Boxic is a risk. He's at 90% fitness and you really want your forward playing twice if possible, particularly as the first one's a home game as well. So Boxic could be a brilliant gamble, but it's a risk. He's injury prone, so there's always danger. I think Fester, Egiog, Southgate defensively is fine. Alan Johnson will obviously be really highly owned. Southampton, I think Svensson has underperformed, but he's potentially worth the gamble, particularly with that first Blackburn home game. I think defensively it would just be Jones, Lundic-Vam or Petrescu. Petrescu, you don't know where he's going to play, if he's going to play defence midfield. I suspect with Wayne Bridge injured, he'll probably play left back. So I think Jones or Lundic-Vam would be the better call. Up front, Beattie could come in for Davis at any time. Pahars just doesn't do enough. Yeah. Sunderland's Kevin Phillips is a great shout, in spite of the fact it's 2 difficult fixtures. Emerson Tomes, another one, be a bonus magnet. Michael Gray, highly likely to play the 2 games. Julio Arca's probably not going to be back till the second game. Again, you could cut corners on the Landers. If you're trying to fit in like Omri and Van Nistelrooy into this, yeah, you could look at, say, Landers from Sunderland. And Spurs I'd largely avoid because of that first game. I don't think we'll score at Arsenal. I think it's nearly a nailed clean sheet for Arsenal, in my opinion. And so then you're just banking on the Everton game. And I think the fact that Everton conceded 6 at Manchester United makes it look a better fiction. It is A, that's what Manchester United are capable of, and B, they scored early goals, which is really important. Otherwise, it can become a slog and something that ends 1-0. So right now, the only Spurs player that I'd be considering is Rebrov.
I've got Teddy Sheringham. You don't think so?
I think Teddy's at risk of rotation at any point. I think actually, particularly for that Everton home game.
And
I think it was
definitely. Who is very popular at the moment.
I think he'll definitely play at Arsenal, Sheringham, but I don't know if he'll play at home to Everton. The chances are that he will, but I don't think there's anything to know. Plus, this is basically going to be one of the rare occasions we obviously see Spurs with fit players and playing twice in a week. Sheringham is old, but I think it's more the case in terms of if Richard Johnson's back for that Everton fixture, is it possible they push Selakovic into the 10 position? And then because it's a weaker opposition at home rather than the game just gone against, say, Chelsea, do they decide to go Everson and Rebrov? And then is Sheringham out the team? I think it's a possibility. I think Rebrov is even at a risk of not playing both games. But I think he likely will. I think in the Arsenal game, it'd be Rebrov up front, Sheringham behind. I think Everson will probably play. He's going to have to play Selakovic deep with Poyet. And that's why I think Spurs will get absolutely ruined. Yes, again, I'm making my excuses. I'm ready. I don't know what I'm going to do to announce all the Arsenal goals that are going to come on Wednesday night. The stream might only last 10 minutes.
I think one of our jobs, James, is to help people provide clarity and a bit more information and help them navigate it. And we've done that. We haven't done that.
No, I think look, I'm on a free hit. I'm not going to force feed people in terms of what they should put in their team. The clarity for me would be target the bonus hitters. That's exactly where I would be at.
And don't anticipate
2 clean sheets and definitely the one thing I would say about this game week: invest money up front.
And don't be fearful of United and Arsenal as single game week teams.
No, you can have them. You
Definitely.
can have them. I don't think you want to be walking into this playing like Fowler up front away to Charlton and stuff like that. But I think United and Arsenal, yeah. I mean, even Luke was saying last night, he was saying like even about Fulham and West Ham, if you got them assets, it's all right because Fulham games are so open, anything can happen in them basically. I don't particularly disagree with that. And the other thing, obviously, on these doubles is there isn't anyone that stands out has got an amazing double. A lot of them are obviously playing each other, and nobody's got 2 home games.
No,
From
that's
all
true.
11, no one's got 2 home games. Whereas, say, you look at Liverpool in game week 16 is obviously Derby, Fulham at home. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that people use the triple captain this week.
No.
I think that's one that should wait.
Wow, that was enough Champman chat to keep us going for plenty while, James. So if you are a Champman FPL playing player, I hope you enjoyed that and get some value out of it. Do stay tuned. James will go live at about 7:30 on Wednesday evening with a full live stream as all the goals go in, and again on Thursday for the second half of the double game weeks. If you don't succeed in the first games on Wednesday, don't worry about it. There is hope for us all.
Don't worry about it. James will rub it in a bit more on Thursday.
Yeah, look, this is life, right? Do you remember around about game week 15, 16, how many points ahead of me you were in regular FPL? It would have been about 100.
No.
Yeah. I reckon it was at least. I was 2 million at one stage, mate. You were like 300k.
Yeah, I'm now triple captain Sadio Mane.
And it didn't finish like that. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. So stay with it and keep playing. Because
also,
what else we got to do?
The one real bit of advice I can give people on the game week for Champman FPL is I am not an expert on this at all. I'm not on FPL either. It's just my opinion that I think my tip would be aggressive, whatever you're doing with the game week, and target players who are likely to be high in bonus.
It's a lot of fun, though. I'm going to say that the more I'm kind of warming to it a little bit and understanding the nuances of the game, Champman, as opposed to FPL. I understand FPL, I just don't understand Champman. Yeah, it's fun. It definitely is fun. And I think everything that goes with it in terms of the live streams and stuff definitely adds to the whole experience of football. And I guess you have to take the credit for that, actually, to be honest with you, not just because of thinking on live stream, but what it's evolved into is actually a really, really cool product. So do stay tuned. I'm looking forward to my first appearance on Saturday, where I don't know what I'm going to be doing, read out the goals or something, but it'll be fun. Just being there to interact when goals go in will be a lot of fun.
Do you think I'll let you get a word in the way I go on?
Yeah. Because you'll be sipping the brew dogs by then, so we'll be fine.
By the way, you haven't mentioned the huge success of the YouTube channel after we managed to get 20,000 viewers on Wednesday night.
What happened on YouTube after we got 20,000 views? Just the fact that we got 20,000 views.
Yeah, man, pick it up.
Yeah, we've crossed 2,000 subscribers now, which I think is a good start. So we'll build on it. There we go. Guys, thanks for tuning in to Planet FPL. And we do appreciate all the support that you give us on Twitter and everywhere else. Most importantly, in the coming week, make sure you've subscribed to the podcast and the YouTube channel, wherever you are, so you get notified straight away when any of our content comes up. Stay safe. Be good. Ciao for now.
Be nice to each other, everyone. Big podcast tomorrow. Cue music, man, child.